Whoops. Good morning, everyone from the coast of Maine, and welcome to Morning Wednesday. Could be evening for some people out there in Australia. Meditation, and I'm going to button up here too. Hey, Remy. Good morning, everybody. This morning, I want to talk a little bit about, before we begin our meditation, talk a little bit about why bother with silence. What's the purpose of silence? Why bother with this self-emptying? Yes, so the whole purpose of it is to learn to listen. How can you hear if you're talking, right? How can you listen if you're not paying attention to the voice that's coming to you? In order to listen to the divine voice, which speaks in whisper or in no language at all, we need to be silent. And the funny thing about this practice of silence, and it's a practice of silence, it's a learned thing, it's a brain training thing. The plasticity of the brain learns to practice this silencing of the thoughts. But the thing about it is that the more we practice it, the greater the capacity inside of us grows for, as a containment unit, as an empty vessel for the fullness to enter in. The fullness can't enter in if we're in the way. So the practice of centering prayer, meditation, silence, inner silence, is a practice of learning to listen for the sound that has no sound, just beingness. And it's a practice of self-emptying so that the fullness can enter into us. And it's cumulative and it's slow. Sometimes it happens quickly, sometimes it happens in a flash. That's totally true. But it's a practice. That's why it's called the practice of centering prayer, the practice of meditation. Because for it to work, we have to keep at it in a ritualized, um, dedicated, practical way. Self emptying, silencing thoughts creates the space for the voice to be heard, creates the empty space for the fullness to enter in. And neither of these things, the voice that has no sound, nor the fullness, can be grasped. They just have to be sitting on your palm like a butterfly, which is part of the reason why we practice riding our breath on our palms, figuratively speaking, our word on our palm of the breath without grasping it. Because it also is part of the training to let this flow, to let the voice speak without sound, to listen without concentration on the voice, just to be in the silence. Because it's in the silence, in the emptiness, that the fullness arrives. And I know that that sounds contradictory, but lots of things in this mystical life are paradoxical. That's just how it is. And I didn't make up the rules, that's how it is. So, hey, Remy. Good morning, Stuart. Judith, the responses from the survey, I haven't gotten to them yet. I'm gonna get to them. I think I should have clarified that question a little bit better. But if you want to participate in the survey, it's up on YouTube. And good morning, Meg, and good morning, Kendall. The sacred silence has its depth. It is what it is, the access point to the divine self inside you. It works. It's worked for centuries for lots of people all over the world. Well, enough about that. So I often begin my meditation practice by focusing on my third eye, and then I drive my mind into my root chakra. And then sometimes I focus on other chakras. I connect maybe the third eye. I focus between these two, or I focus between these two, or I let my mind rest inside of here. When I began the practice, and here's some practical knowledge about meditation practice. I began here, but not with imagination, just with focus. And then when I ride my breath down through my pineal gland to the back of my neck, I don't imagine my chakra there. I just place my mind there. Then I place my mind on my heart chakra on the back, all the way each chakra, all the way down, just placing my mind on my spine, feeling my skin, and then riding it back up again. And this thing happens where those chakras are like plates. It doesn't look much like a plate. Don't here. Looks like a flat plate, but then it becomes more like a round ball, and then it becomes more like a tube that extends out your back and out your front over time, over dedicated practice. Anyway, enough of that stuff. Let's go into our practice. I'm going to grab my mask here as I often do and knock stuff around on my desk at the same time. Yep, that kind of morning. They happen. Thank God for meditation. Still smiling. All right. 3 ohms, and then we practice into our breath. Here we go. Settling in. My feet are flat on the floor. Try to keep my spine straight. Deep breath into the belly. I fill my lungs with intent during the ohms, but I don't fill my lungs during my centering prayer practice. I let my belly fill my lungs enough for air. Relax. Ride your breath. everyone. Time to open your eyes, come back to the world a little. So, in the middle of my meditation, I got an itch. Did you ever get an itch during your meditation? I got mine right here, that little tiny spot right there. Does that ever happen to you? What do you do about that? Do you scratch it? Does that do any good? No. What I do instead, what I learned to do, is stare at it. I look right at that spot until the itch fades. I look right at it, training my mind to be single focused. I didn't expect it this morning in my meditation. I never expect it when it happens. It's a rare thing, but it does. You get a little itch behind your ear, you get a little itch on your thigh, you get a little itch on your baby toe, and it's distracting. What do you do with it? You stare at it, you drive your breath into it, you move your mind into it, and you look right at it. And you use it for focus. And thoughts drop away. Silence enters in. In my meditation practice, I wave through in and out of silence, in and out of silence. I dip into the silence. I get an itch. My mind gets distracted. I focus my mind on the itch. I go back into the silence again. It's like a wave form, in and out, in and out. And all of the silence accumulates inside, a grain of sand at a time, into your pile of silence. And inside that silence, it creates this container. And in the container, creates the space for the fullness of God, for the fullness of the divine. One of the prayers that Jesus taught, "Thy will be done." This is it. The will is the fullness itself. In Islam, the word Islam means surrender. The practice of meditation is the surrender of self, the emptiness of thoughts, the silence inside, allowing a space within to become a container of heaven here now. That's what this does. It creates heaven here now, inside you, makes this connection through this containment, and then it reaches out into the world through you, and you receive the presence of the divine in the same way. Well, I'm going to take a look over here. Hey, MJ, MG, MJ, oh my God. MG, sorry about that. Hi, Kendall. Yes, I said hi to you once before, but thanks for the sacred silence. I'm glad that you wrote that. I already read it. Hi, Christelle from Holland. Hello, welcome from Holland. So great to have you here today. I speak your language. It's not Dutch, it's soul. It's soul language. That's cool. Thank you. Glad you're here today. Hey, Kristen. Good morning, Tony. Reme, you're welcome. Catherine, yeah, try that. That's cool. That's good. It works. Christine, what about overheating and sweating? Oh, yes, the overheating and sweating. Kristen asked that question earlier this week. Developing heat in your meditation practice is just part of the practice. And so, what I used to practice a lot in the tennis courts, above the tennis courts at our local YMCA in this field house, uh, was a raised track. And during a time period when my heat would be great, I would get really hot in meditation. I would go into a cool space. I meditate in a cold space. I start meditating in a cold space, and then my body naturally heats up. So open a window, lower the temperature in your room, take off your sweater. And if you're in Florida, or somewhere else warm, turn on the AC, drop that temperature in the room. If you know you're going to get hot in your meditation, create a cooler environment for yourself. There's no way to stop it. At least I've never learned a way to stop the heat from rising. It's actually, for me, what it feels like is the rising of my prana. My prana rises up with my breath, and I become inflamed with the divine presence. So it's a good thing, Kristen. It just is a little uncomfortable, especially if the sweat's dripping down your nose. So cool your space down if you can. Take off that sweater. Open a window. Hello, Stuart. Peter, have you experienced that as inner silence and stillness grows, outer daily life experiences changes, get smoother, easier? Absolutely. Yes, completely. The peace within oneself changes one's reaction to the exterior world. And so in that level of your being present to the world of trouble, well, that the peace within you permeates the exterior. But also, it seems like it brings sort of a, hmm, all's well in the world kind of feeling, even when there's trouble all around. So, yes, absolutely. It sure does. That's one of the side effects of it. It's one of the benefits of it. The more peace you grow inside yourself, the more silence you have inside yourself. For the peace to be inside yourself, the more the peace comes out into the world. The less reactive you become, the more measured you become, the quieter you become in the world. It's a fantastic thing. Imagine if all of the politicians in the world before they went into meetings all meditated and brought themselves into peace and silence. Their interactions would be much more peaceful, much more silent. I'm not silent, but much more peaceful, much more welcoming. Yeah, for sure that happens, Stuart. And it gets easier and easier. It gets smoother and smoother. It's like the expanse of the bubble of peace, the containment unit inside of myself that I grow in the practice of silence sort of gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It doesn't sort of, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and expands around me like a bubble. It feels like I've got a bubble. I live in a bubble of heaven inside of the world, which is always made of love secretly. So it's interacting with the world. But this expanding place of peace inside myself expands out into the world. And I don't have to do anything to make it happen except for learn to be silent within. Silencing the thoughts brings the peace, and the peace containment unit gets bigger and bigger and bigger and expands out into the world. So it's my interactions with people that become more peaceful because I'm peaceful on the inside, but on its own, heaven grows within and spreads outside. And without grasping it, without trying to own it, without trying to direct it, just letting it be. So, absolutely, Stuart, it's one of the wonderful things about it. Kendall, I tell myself that when I scratch the itch, it will help me go deeper and deeper. And then I scratch it, LOL. And I use the hitch to help me. There's another technique. Kendall scratches his itch and he uses the hitch to help him. There's a bunch of different ways to deal with that kind of stuff. In my world, if I scratch the itch, it doesn't really ever go away. It just comes back again because it's probably one of those itches that aren't real. What I mean is there's no bug biting me there. J.S. Bach music, says Reme, is the greatest testimony to the divine in the world. Yeah, J.S. Bach, he must have been in a meditative state when he was writing, in the flow state when he was writing his music. I'm a fan of J.S. Bach because of the depth of the mystical presence that comes through the notes on the page that get played by any organist or any symphony or any violinist. If they play the notes and they enter into the space of the notes, that same mystical beauty comes out of their violin, comes out of their organ. It's amazing how that works. But yes, J.S. Bach, big fan. Judith Stewart, I have noticed this as well. Yes, for sure. I'm glad to hear that, Judith. Faye, thanks. So I'll have to leave her a little early. Peace and love to you, Faye, wherever you went. And good morning, Wendy. All right, my friends, thanks for being here today. I will see you on Sunday, not church. Just running through my mind if there's anything else I want to say, and I don't think there is. So, hey, Wanda, peace and love to you all. Shaka, says Reme. Um, Peace and love, everybody. I'll see you soon. Namaste. Thanks for being here. I super appreciate your support. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. See you soon. Mhm.